Bert Breer of the MMQB is with us in our Town Fair Tires studios. It's Zolak Bertrand, presented by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Hi, Bert.
Hello.
Hi, Bert.
How you doing?
Kind of a sad intro there.
Yeah, it hasn't been a great week, Bert.
Yeah.
Really hasn't.
What do you make of it, Bert?
I said this like reactionary, and I think I still would say it after they lost that game. Like, I think Kraft should, during the bye week, sit down with Bill and say, how do you want to do this? Because it does feel like there's an inevitability to where this is going at the end of the year. And I think after 24 years, it makes sense to me that those guys should be able to sit down with each other and say, we don't want this to be awkward the last 2, 3, 4 weeks of the year. Maybe Bill does want it to be awkward. I don't know. But I would think the Krafts wouldn't want it to be awkward. We've talked about how they don't want this to be a firing. Is there a way to create something where it's not awkward, over the next 2 months, and where there is a way to celebrate Bill and everything that he's accomplished when you get to the point where it's appropriate to do so? Not yet, of course, because there's still a bunch of games to play. But there will come a point when the games don't matter anymore officially, right? Like when we get to a point where it's officially done.
Yeah.
And there will come a point when I think we all know there's an inevitability to what's going to happen after the year. And, I think that this would be the right timing to sit down with Bill, if you're Kraft, and say, how do you want to do this?
And what do you think Bill would tell him? If you had to guess.
Bill would say, do what?
He probably would. Yeah.
Do what? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Do what? I'm getting ready to coach a game this week.
But if you're Kraft and you can be direct and confrontational about it, you can say, look, Bill, if you want to walk away now, like you've earned the right to do this however you want to do it. It's like, but it's very clear.
Why would I walk away? We have a contract.
Right. Well, then you say
coach my contract out.
All right. Well, if you want us to have to terminate you at the end of the year, Bill, then we'll do that.
Okay.
But we don't want it to come to that. So we want to at least give you options here and how you want to handle the next 2 months, whether it's do nothing and then there's a mutual parting, whether it's an announcement in December so we can celebrate you in that last home game against the Jets, or if you want to do it the hard way, we can do it the hard way. But I do think that it makes sense if you're Robert Kraft now, like where they are as a team gives you the opportunity to address this privately. It doesn't have to get to the players. It doesn't have to get to the other coaches. It doesn't have to get to people in the front office. It can be man-to-man, you and him.
So maybe it's already been figured out.
Maybe.
Right? I mean, in theory.
Yeah.
In theory, they could have had dinner last night and talked about it.
Right.
Who knows?
I just think
my guess would be, to answer my own question that I just asked you,
I don't think so.
My guess would be he tells him to do it the hard way.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, you want to fire me? Go ahead, fire me.
Then you know what?
End of the year.
I'll sit out a year. I'll make $25 million and refresh myself, and
Right.
I'll come back in a year. I'll do what Sean Payton did.
Right. So
That could be in play.
it could be. Yeah.
Give me a break. Let me get away from a year. Let me recharge my batteries.
I don't know that he wants to get away from for a year.
Because I don't think I just
It could be bad.
I think with all the potential solutions that we have talked about require planning, right? So if you're gonna make Gerard the head coach, okay, which I think we all think is still the most likely.
I think he's the leading candidate.
By the way, wanted to mention this earlier. According to Bet Online, the odds for the next head coach, if not Bill Belichick, for the New England Patriots, Gerard Mayo, the leader, at 2-1. Mike Vrabel, 3-1. Jim Harbaugh, 6-1. Eric Bieniemy, 9-1. And 10-1 is Brian Johnson. Bill O'Brien is 11-1. Cliff Kingsbury, 16-1. And there are all kinds of other names.
Well, the next name there is
on
interesting.
that list.
Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, Kyle Shanahan, 16-1. Ben Johnson, 22-1. Same as Josh McDaniels. Mike Kafka, also 22-1. They also throw Teddy Bruschi and Tom Brady on there for
Kafka,
fun.
the old quarterback?
And they spelled Teddy Bruschi's name wrong, too.
Yes, they did. They added an extra D.
Yep. They spelled it the more conventional way.
Teddy Bruschi at 100-1 with Tom Brady. And the odds for Belichick, where he will land, has the Commanders at 3-1, the Chargers 4-1, Panthers 5-1, Titans 6-1, Bears 7-1, and a bunch of other teams that I don't think are really going to be in play, but that's the picture.
Yeah. And like I just think like whatever the next step is, whether it's firing him, whether it's installing Gerard, it's not like a linear thing. Like if you're installing Gerard, it's not, I don't think, just, all right, we're bumping Matt Groh up to GM, let's go, same structure. You're restructuring your organization. You're probably giving whoever the general manager is, assuming he'd have that title, more power than anybody's had here on the personnel side over the last 24 years. Yeah. Right? So you're restructuring the way that you look organizationally. If it's going and getting somebody new, well, then this is when teams that are firing their coaches tend to start to do background work. So, like one way or the other, there's groundwork that needs to be laid over the next couple of months to make this massive of a change. And most owners like do that behind their coaches' backs. I just don't think you want to do that if you're Robert Kraft, based on everything that Bill.
This is such a different situation than any of the firings or decisions you had to move away from a coach prior, or even I'd even throw Dallas in there with Jimmy and Jerry, because it happened so quick.
Well, that was so fast.
It was fast. See, Jimmy wasn't there 20 years. Jimmy didn't bring you. He had 7 titles.
It was
6 titles.
And it was a different time, and even then, like that was like in the spring too, wasn't it? Like I think it was.
Yeah.
It was like it was in the middle of the offseason. It wasn't like when you conventionally fire.
You don't want to flamethrower this thing.
Right.
You don't want a really, really bad ending. That's something both sides don't want.
Yeah,
but I don't think Bill would like.
I don't know if Bill would
fired
care.
Before. Yeah,
I don't know if Bill would care.
I think Robert cares very.
I think Robert really
so.
cares. Like I think Robert is sensitive to it. I think Robert is especially sensitive to it because of the way the Brady thing ended.
Yep.
And like he doesn't want to be known as, especially with the Hall of Fame stuff and everything else, he does not want to be known as the owner who signed off on getting rid of Brady and then fired Belichick.
Right.
So I think he'd like to have this look a certain way. I think then it comes down to whether or not Bill's willing to accommodate that.